Just bear with me, guys. Okay.
We are live.
Right. Should we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to stay standing, Mayor, if that's all right, because I'm going to administer the oath to 3 new council members. And you can feel free to, maybe I'll do the mayor first since it's a different office, and then the 2 of you we can do together. You raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, your name.
I, Ellen Anderson Buck,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will discharge faithfully
and I will discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of mayor
the duties of the office of mayor
in the city of Goodhue,
in the city of Goodhue,
county of Goodhue,
county of Goodhue,
the state of Minnesota,
state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank
You're
you.
the mayor. And do you want to do this individually or do you want to do it together? Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll have you raise your right hands. You follow after me. I, your name.
I, Joe President,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will discharge faithfully
discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of council member
the duties of the office of council member
in the city of Goodhue,
in the city of Goodhue,
county of Goodhue,
county of Goodhue,
the state of Minnesota,
state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Well done. Congratulations. And then, Mayor, just before you dive in, as I mentioned to you prior to the meeting, you will each have to sign the oath that we just recited, and we'll have to coordinate doing that in front of a notary. Jill and I are not notaries, so but we do need to do that. So that would be great if we can coordinate that. Thank you. Well, she probably doesn't. She's probably not ready to roll right this second. But she's witnessed it, so we can go and find her tomorrow.
Okay, so the EDA meeting agenda, we need to approve the EDA agenda. I so move. Could I get a second? Okay, so moved. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I think that was unanimous, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
EDA members? Yep.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to name the president of the EDA, which is Ellen Anderson Buck. You need a motion for that?
Yeah, and if I can, just President Buck. So it's not legally required that the mayor of the city also be the president of the EDA, but I will say that where city councils also serve as the city's EDA, that's the normal practice, and I think it's been the practice in Goodhue in the past. So that's why that's proposed.
Could I get a motion?
I'll make the motion that Gary Anderson Buck, or Ellen Gary Anderson Buck, be put in the position of president of the EDA.
Could I get a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, third on the agenda, name the executive director of the EDA, Jill Buxengard.
And Mayor, I just, same comment, it's a staff person that serves as the executive director, not an elected official. And so in a city like this, it would typically be the city clerk that would serve that role.
Could I get a motion? I so move. Second? Okay, approve, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Fourth on the agenda is Swanson Heights 3rd Edition Covenants.
And President, I can take a run at saying a few words about that if you'd like.
That would be good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So economic development authorities like Goodhue has, like you are now sitting here as EDA members, have the power to buy and sell property, but there are some restrictions on when EDAs around Minnesota can do that. And one of the restrictions is that it has to be for development purposes. You can't just buy and speculate in real estate. In other words, you have to actually do it for development of the city. And so the way the legislature has said that EDAs have to do that is you have to impose covenants, legal restrictions on land that EDAs are going to sell. And those legal restrictions have to say that the land will be developed in accordance with the agreement between the buyer and the EDA as the seller. And so we need to have covenants on the land that the EDA is selling. You've had covenants in place for most of this development, but there was one block in the development. It's a platted development with separate blocks. One of the blocks, for reasons that I guess I don't understand, but one of the blocks was excluded from the covenants. And so we need to adopt covenants and impose them on that one block where we have sold, as of 2 weeks ago, we've sold to Bigelow Homes 4 lots. They're going to be developed as 2 twin home houses. We need to impose covenants on that entire block, including those lots. And so that's what's in front of you. The other thing that's in front of you is a letter agreement between me and the attorneys for Bigelow, the buyers of those lots, saying, even though we've already conveyed the lots to them, we sold the lots to them as of 2 weeks ago, even though that's true, these covenants that we're going to adopt tonight are going to get recorded against those lots after the fact. Even though we've already sold to them, these will be recorded against those lots after the fact, after the sale. So, and then as to what the covenants say, they just say the same exact thing that the covenants on the other blocks in that development say. So they're identical to the same way that the EDA has done things in the past.
Okay. So just to clarify, on the lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Block 1, Jill and I had a conversation too about this, and I just wanted to clarify. So is that 1 through 4 that they're building on right now?
Yeah, so President and members, yes, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the ones that we've already conveyed. So we've conveyed those lots. They're going to be developed as 2 lots together twice, right? 2 twin homes. We the EDA still own lots 5 and 6. So there are 6 lots in that block. We've just sold 4 of them. So we're imposing the covenants against all of the lots in that block. It's just that 4 of the 6 have already been sold.
Okay. And
So
then
that's why
across
there's
the street, we'll impose covenants then when we develop those across the street?
So, yeah, across the street, these covenants have already been imposed.
Okay.
They're just accepted for reasons, again, I don't really understand. The side of the street we're talking about just wasn't included in the covenants that were previously imposed.
Okay.
So we're just adding these to that one block.
Anybody else have any questions on that?
I was just wondering, on number 3, it says temporary purposes for having let's see, mobile homes or travel trailers, that kind of thing. Is that ever made into something like several days or weeks rather than just saying temporary? Because in other parts of town, people don't follow rules necessarily, and would it be better, or does this need to be more general?
Yeah. President and members, this is confusing what I'm about to say, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's the truth. So covenants that EDAs impose on land are totally enforceable. The EDA can go and enforce these if someone were to try to build something in a way that doesn't comply with these covenants or put something out there in the neighborhood that doesn't comply with the covenants. The EDA would have the ability to enforce the covenants. But the way you would have to do that is actually through a lawsuit. It's not a very convenient way to enforce these things. However, the city, which you're going to be the city council here in 3 minutes when we're done with this meeting, the city can also impose restrictions through ordinances. And so you could, for example, impose a restriction against the parking of campers in these neighborhoods if you wanted to. You could impose that citywide, or you could impose it on this neighborhood. You could do that as a city council, and these covenants don't change that. That ordinance would still be applicable to, so you can impose additional restrictions beyond these covenants. So I guess I would ask you to consider that if you want to do that, sitting as the city council rather than the EDA, since we're trying to keep these covenants identical throughout the whole neighborhood. I think it makes more sense just to leave these alone and then consider an ordinance if you want to.
Any other questions?
And maybe this is the same thing, but on the last one, number 14, and Joe is the one who kind of brought this up at some time. When the twin home was built, they put the meters and stuff right in the front doorway, rather than on the side of the house. And so does that need to go through an ordinance then?
I think Dick wrote a letter to them about that, didn't he?
Yeah. It was in one of our emails where they said that that's the way they've always done it.
Yeah.
The company that builds it, they always put them on the front of the house, which is kind of odd.
Well, I've been in the electrical business for 40-some years, and you don't put electric services in the front entry.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So I know,
It's all about money.
yep, so I know that Dick redirected it for Bigelow not to do that. But it's not been updated in the ordinance, as far as,
They didn't put it in the next one they built.
In the next
And they-
two,
yeah.
correct.
correct.
So evidently they got the hint. Like I told the former mayor, I says, well, if they want to do that, fine, Ellen, it's okay, but they're not going to do it good.
Yeah.
They're not creating a slum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, members, I guess I don't know about, you sound like you know a fair amount about this, I don't know about this, but I'm surprised that that's not a building code issue, that where you would locate utility service meters, it seems like it should be a
Always
building
been
code.
for our, kind of as a contractor, you just put them on the side, the gas meter, the electric meter, the telephone deal. It's off to the side, it's not in the front edge.
Right?
And this is I was the one that brought it up after I saw that. I was just enraged because I said, we can't have this stuff going on.
Well, and hopefully they understood our concern now, and the next one they build, we'll watch them carefully and make sure that it doesn't,
Do it right.
yep, that it doesn't happen again. Anything else? Good. So do we just need to make a motion to?
Correct.
Okay,
To approve the declaration, the resolution approving the declarations, yep.
Did I get a motion to approve the resolution to approve the Swanson Heights 3rd Edition covenants? Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Could I got a motion to adjourn the EDA meeting? Second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll move into the city council meeting. Could I get a motion to approve the city council agenda?
I'll second.
Excuse me. Joe, is this where we need to move this? Or do we wait until it comes to it?
Yeah, Mayor and council members, yeah, I think you're talking about, there's an item on there that you may not want to take up. You could either leave it on the agenda and then table it, or you could remove it from the agenda and then not talk about it at all. So you can do it either way. If you leave it on the agenda, though, if you approve the agenda as written, you'll have to say, we want to table that item.
Let's just, we have a motion, we had a first and a second. So leave that and then we'll discuss it. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. The approval of the meeting minutes from December 14th.
I move to approve those minutes, December 14th.
Can I get a second?
I'll take it.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving into old business. So, wage consideration for police chief. So, I've had an opportunity to visit with Josh, and another council member at this time. We feel that it would be appropriate to move that to a closed meeting at this time. So, and then we could come up with a meeting date and go to a close, since it's personnel issue and wage. If that's appropriate, that where we need a motion.
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, that's legally appropriate. You can always review the performance of employees for the city in closed session. There are some requirements we'll have to have before you actually do that. I guess we're not gonna do that tonight. It sounds like we have to announce who it is and then we have to summarize what we said in the closed session when we're done. But for tonight's purposes, you've pointed that out, and we can tee that up for the next meeting, and it would be appropriate to table it to the next meeting if you want.
Okay. Did I get a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, city signs. Mr. Benda, you're up.
Okay. I asked for quotes from 3 different companies. The 2 from Goodrich never got back to me. So the only one I got back was from Newfab Felt, whatever service. And his quote for a sign is $29.40.53. Plus, there's a drawing on the back here of what the sign would actually be. And that's just the stainless steel in the frame made so we can put the sign on it. We'll put a wrap on it. And I did get a quote from a company, and my objective on this is to talk to the Lions. They have some money and is hoping to talk them into buying the signs. I talked to Jerry Tipke, he's on the gambling board, and then we would put the wrap on them. And I'm sorry I didn't get this copy, I got this late, so.
And then who would do the concrete work? Would we just pour a pad and put some anchor points on it, or how?
No, I think what we decided was we just drill some holes and pour concrete in there and pour the stainless right in the concrete.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, that'll work real good, yeah.
And I think that's something our maintenance people could do.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I got a quote from Anchor Promotions Apparel and Signage in Red Ring. So if we get to the point where we get signs from the Lions, we can try a couple other places to give us quotes on the decals. It's a vinyl, a 3M vinyl decal installation and material to do it. And 2 signs were $550 each, $100 sale. So I think that's something, that part of it we could look into if the Lions actually decide they want to donate the money for the signs.
Mhm.
So what I'd like to get tonight is, I'd like to get a motion that I could take this copy to the Lions, because they're having a meeting, what is the date today?
11?
I think they're having a meeting tomorrow night. So I'd like to get this to them and explain to them what we're looking for. And I'm thinking we probably request 3,000 each because there's some hardware that goes with this that wasn't included in on the bid. I found out later today. So we probably request $6,000 from them and see if, what they come up with.
So we're looking at 2 signs right now, Joe?
Yeah, it'd be the one out on 58 and the one up on number 9.
Okay.
Because we have the big one right in the corner when you're coming from the south
Right.
and the east there, so at the present, we can maybe get started with those two.
Well, and we don't know about the roundabout yet.
Yeah,
So we certainly should wait to
Yeah.
see how that's all gonna lay out.
but if somebody wants to make a motion, I would go down to Jerry's tomorrow morning and present this to them, so they would consider it and see what we come up with.
Is the wrap, is that something, what is the guarantee on it, the life expectancy?
You know, I never asked her, but I talked to the guy that's building the sign. He said we built a sign for over by Hampton for a gun club. He said it's been there for a number of years and looks as good as it was the day it put in there.
Okay.
And it was built with the stainless steel with a wrap on it too.
It's usually the same, the vinyl and the 3M stuff is about the same as a street sign. So,
Okay,
years.
years. Yeah, we certainly wanna get something that's gonna last.
And if it's just basic vinyl, then that stuff, it doesn't fade, nothing like that, so, yeah, it'll last for.
Well, we'd have to decide a design then too.
Right, right. Anybody else have any questions for Joe?
So these are gonna replace the signs that are up at
So
6
what's the
and
sign
9,
up there and then the sign that's missing on 58?
going towards Red Wing.
Yes.
Okay.
It was on the left-hand side about on the property line, the first property line. And it was cedar and it was all rotted and broken down.
Mayor, I guess I have a question. So is the idea that the city would accept the quote sort of subject to the Lions wanting to contribute
Yeah.
to it? Okay, all right.
That's why I would make my motion. If the Lions decide they're willing to pay for the signs, I would like to get a motion to move ahead with this.
So the city would be responsible for the 6,000.
No, they would pay the 6,000, but we would pay the wrap price. And I
Okay,
we
which
got
was that?
rate. That was
$500.
$555 per sign plus $100
Okay.
setup fee. So the city would be on the hook for $1,100, $10, whatever.
Well, I make a move that if the Lions agree to buy these and we buy the signs.
Get a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried to see what the Lions will do contingent on buying the signs, what they'll pay for. Okay, moving into new business, zoning ordinances. It looks like the city attorney.
Yep, Mayor and Council, so I'm not gonna read my little memo here. I trust that if you've wanted to read that, you've gone ahead and read it. So I'll kind of shoot from the hip a little bit about my thoughts about this. So as council knows, several of you are new here. I'm new here too. Jill is not new, but she's newish here with the city. And so since I've been on for the last, 6 months, 4 months, whatever it's been, I have been wanting to kind of bring together all of the city's laws. And in doing that, I reported to the prior council that it appears that you've got a city code book, a book that has chapter and verse of what the city's laws are, but then you also have some separate ordinances that have been adopted over a period of decades, going back to the 70s, that aren't in the code book. And that's a little unusual. Typically, a city would want to have all of its ordinances either be in a code book or just have separate loose ordinances. So I made that comment a couple of months ago at a meeting and said maybe we should start digging into how we're going to rationalize that, how we're going to bring that together so that everybody in town can know what the city's rules are, what the city's laws are. So I wasn't sure though where I was going to start in doing that because that council said, go ahead, Bob, dig into that. I wasn't sure where I was going to start, but in my time that I've been here, I think I've seen a couple of requests for building permit approvals come before the city council. I've seen at least one request for approval of a subdivision of land to be subdivided. In that case, it was ag land to be subdivided for, I think, estate planning purposes, where the farmhouse was going to remain with an individual and the rest of the land was going to go into a LLC for estate planning purposes. And then most recently, I know you've got a new church development that's going in where the church wanted to know what the zoning of the property is and what the rules are for that zoning. So because of all of that, because I've seen those things come forward, it seemed like your zoning / subdivision ordinance, you have an ordinance that addresses both zoning of land in town and how land can be subdivided in town. Because you have an ordinance that addresses that, and it's not in your code book, I thought that was the best place to start, and Jill turned me loose on and looking at that ordinance first. It's short, as I've said in my little memo to you, it's a short ordinance. It's shorter than a lot of city zoning and subdivision ordinances are, but it's fine, but it's not really up to date. I think it was enacted, I don't know the exact year that it was enacted. I can guess at it based on a newspaper clipping, but whenever it was enacted, exactly 1970 or around that time, it hasn't been significantly updated, I don't think, since then. And of course, state laws have changed a lot in relation to subdivision and the rules for city subdivision approvals, zoning of land, how cities can zone land, and what the rules are for dealing with public notices and having a hearing on zoning things and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good ordinance. It just needs to be updated. And I think it's in need of enough different updates that the easy way, the typical way to do that is, I mean, one way you can do that is you can take what you have today and you can pay me or you can do it yourselves if you want to dive into it that deep. But somebody can go through and start identifying all of the amendments to that existing ordinance that have to be made. I'll just tell you, there would be many, many of them. We would have to make many changes on each page of the 20 pages of that ordinance. An easier way to do it, in my view, is to just repeal it and put in place a new modern. You take an example from another city, frankly.
Right.
Go with the same zoning restrictions that you currently have. Don't change the rules that people have to live by. You've had zoning in place that says what ag land can be, what can be done with it, what can be done with residential land. Don't change those basic rules, but just have an updated set of procedures and notices and hearings and have all that stuff be updated. I think the easiest way to do that is just grab an example, insert your rules for each zone, and then adopt that to replace what you had in place before. And probably in doing that, put it into your code book, give it its own title and chapter in your code book. Because I think the ultimate goal here, and this is up to you, not up to me, I think the ultimate goal ought to be to have all of your ordinances be in that book, so that people, you can make multiple copies of the current code book, and then people, if they want to come and look at the code book, they can come and see all of the city's ordinances all at once. So that's to do what I'm saying, though. If you wanted to take all of the city's rules, all of the ordinances, the individual ordinances, and the current code book, and bring that whole thing together and bring it up to date, that's going to cost a fair amount of money. And so I don't think you want to bite that off all at once. I don't think your budget can support doing that all at once. So I don't think that makes sense. So I think you're going to have to be a little bit thoughtful about what order you go in updating things. And I think this is probably the best place to start. So that's my input.
Well, obviously, we want to be the most cost effective. And the whole idea is to get from point A to point B and bring us up to speed, correct? Would everybody agree?
That and keeping it simple enough for everybody to understand as well.
Right. And so, you know, we've talked about this before. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. There are plenty of places and cities who do this. And if we can do it that way, it would save us a significant amount of money, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what?
That doing it, getting a new
If a company
template.
did this, that, are there companies that do this, that this is their job?
Yeah, so council, when cities put their ordinances into a code book, That's called codification of ordinances, right? You take individual loose ordinances and you put them in, you write them into a book. There are services, there are companies that do that, take individual ordinances and bring them together and put them into a book. There are several companies that are big, national size companies that do that kind of work. They're expensive. But having somebody do that, having somebody each time you make an amendment to your laws or add a new law, put it into your code book is important. That's something that your lawyer can help do, or you can have your clerk do. It requires a little bit of nuance, but it can be done by staff by not hiring those big companies, or you can hire them. With the big one that I'm thinking of, for example, is Muni Code. It's called, cute name, municipal code is Muni Code. But to do an update to a city code, it's tens of thousands of dollars. So it's it's a significant amount of money.
And it's
That's
what we
versus
have to do.
read, just,
Yeah, and then as
Ratifying.
to a zoning ordinance, and Mayor, I think what you were alluding to, there are lots of cities around here, several cities in Goodhue County that might be good examples, or around here that have more current zoning codes that would be good starting points, that we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. There's also the League of Minnesota Cities has a model zoning ordinance on its website. And those are up to date. I guess what I'm saying is that it requires a little bit of, what you can't do is you can't throw out your zoning map. We have a map, I'm not sure where it is, but we have a map that shows the zoning of all the property in the city. Everyone in town has rights based on the zoning of their land, and I don't think you want to change what each kind zone of property is allowed to do, because if you did that, you'd be changing people's rights, landowner rights. And so I don't think you want to do that
no.
unwittingly, right? You want to make sure that everyone has fundamentally the same rights to do with their property what they currently can do. So, you can't just go and grab name of the city. You can't just go and grab their zoning ordinance and change the name of the city. That won't work. But you can use the framework of what they have to bring your code up to, or your ordinance up to speed.
So then you would have a plan then how to do this so that you don't break the bank here in town, our bank.
Yeah.
Well, we could do it in stages here. That would save a bunch, just.
And you would do that?
Yeah.
in
Well,
stages?
I would do what you would tell me to do. I could do that. I'm not gonna tell you to waste money on me if you don't want to, so. But yes.
So who else would we waste money on? You said that the bigger companies cost more, do you think?
I do.
Okay.
Because what you're saying is we could repeal the current one that we had and essentially rewrite it
That's what I'm saying.
under what another community might have.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, what I'm saying, to say it the same thing in different ways, I just think it would be more expensive either in terms of your time or Jill's time or
This is
me.
what we're talking about.
Yep.
This is how it reads, like,
Right.
there's no smaller version of this. And so this is what needs to be updated. So this has been a topic for some time,
Yeah.
but,
This just needs to be updated to a more modern.
correct.
And what I'm saying is to go through that line by line and have me say, oh, this isn't quite conforming to current state law for each paragraph or each line would take me a lot longer than just saying, this is out, we're gonna bring this in. That would be much more time efficient and frankly cheaper because it's more time efficient. But what I'm saying also is we don't want to throw out, if we said we're repealing this and putting this in place, we can't affect landowner rights. But that's the key thing, is to not change people's rights to do with their land what they can currently do, because if you do that, you're going to upset quite a few people in town, I think. So, that's the trick of the whole thing. Candidly, having me just propose to you a new ordinance that preserves the existing rights but has more updated language, that's not difficult. Very candidly, what's difficult is that at least some of you, if not all of you, are going to have to very carefully read that thing and know what it says. And that's gonna be your schoolwork, and so that's gonna take some time. You can't be expected to read what will be more than 20 pages, maybe significantly more than 20 pages. We can't expect you to do that in 2 weeks or a month. It's gonna take some time for you to go through, write down your questions about things, and then have a meeting where I can answer your questions. So I don't want to tell you that I can just present something to you and you ought to adopt it that night. You're going to need to actually read it and have questions and make sure that it's right for your community.
Are these, Bob, would this be an instant where this would be more of like a learning workshop? I mean, we wouldn't, so we could come together and, this is gonna take some time, obviously. And so instead of using a council meeting to sit down and say, okay, here we're gonna sit and talk about this, bring your questions. I mean, because I think this is gonna take some time to do that. And I don't believe that it's in the best interest to do it at a council meeting all the time. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, one piece of this for sure that has to happen is you'll have to have a public hearing.
Right.
And the normal practice would be for something that I'm proposing, which is take out what you have and put in something new. The normal expectation would be that you'd let anyone in town that wanted to see what's being proposed have it for a period of time so they can read it too. And they can come here before that public hearing and say their thoughts about things. I mean, you're not going to want to hurry this, right? So I would say that sort of having Jill and I put something together relatively quickly, but then calm down and take your time, make it publicly available, let people react to it, come up with your own questions, and maybe shoot for the fall or something like that for adoption. A hearing or a couple of hearings and adoption would be a reasonable schedule. But trying to get this done, there are going to be people in town that are going to want to read the thing and know what's happening with their property. So
It's something that you should give us some kind of an outline that we should try to follow going through there and looking at the stuff? Or is it
It
just
has been
something-
typed up.
Yep.
There's 20 pages that has been typed up. So we should be able to get that, correct? Yeah, so it will be a lot easier to read.
And so that would be that's the key part of it. We did have a citizen take that, type it up, because even though I've been here over a year, that's a lot of language for me to understand. So I don't remember the year that the newspaper clipping. So to get into some 2000s language type thing,
Yeah.
it's pretty much needed. Because I have to take the phone calls, so immediately they're going to want something. So we need to get it to a level where we understand it. So.
I think what would be really helpful too is if maybe we could somewhat prepare a statement, because these are the kinds of things that the public really want to know about, and they ask questions. So we're all giving them the same answer on why this is being done, why it's so time consuming, why it's going to probably cost a little bit of money, but it's certainly something that needs to be done. And so when people ask those, well, why is the city doing this now? Hasn't it been just fine? We need to move into a more update system.
Well, it's kind of like our infrastructure. Some of that needs to
Right.
be updated. And
Right. So what's our next step from here as we look at this? And
there isn't any final action, of course, to take. I mean, I
Right.
think it would be council consensus about direction, what direction you want to give. And I guess I can think of two obvious ways to start. One way would just be to tell me to go and spend some time, which also means money, proposing something. Another equally legitimate approach, which I'm all for equally, would be to ask Jill to gather up a couple of examples from similar sized, demographically similar cities for all of us to look at. Either of those approaches makes all the sense in the world to me. I will tell you, if you told me to go do it, I would start with the league's document, Because I think it has trickled out and it would be, you would find it in a lot of communities in some form. But either approach is
I
is
think that
workable.
sounds to go with
Yep.
Lee's document.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
Maybe way more in general though too.
So is that the direction that we would like to, like we said, we don't need to make a motion on this, do we? We just
I-
need to give you direction on working with Jill and start the process, and is that
Probably go with the
League of Minnesota Cities? Look at that.
Okay,
Is it good?
that's great. Yep, thanks for the direction.
All right. Mr. Traven.
Hey,
Hi.
so the Goody Bell Trust of Rail Riders is going on behalf of today. We do a snowmobile safety class every winter. We've been doing it in Ryan's, or the Train Depot lot, and A Partners lot. With A Partners building expansion, we're no longer have enough real estate just around the depot lot in Ryan's to do it anymore. So we're looking for a new location to do the driving portion. And I had sent Jill an email asking if we could do it in Rosie's Park. He just suggested I come and talk to the council about it. So looking for permission, I guess, to do the snowmobile driving portion of the safety class in the open area of the park here.
Who is responsible for the liability of whatever happens there?
We-
If somebody gets hurt.
We do carry insurance for it. It's part of our general liability insurance.
Where it was before was a lot more open. In case, there's a lot of stuff, obstacles and stuff that the kids could run into, isn't there, in the park? I was looking at that.
Oh, there's plenty of real
There's-
estate.
You talking about back by the soccer
north.
fields?
Yeah.
By the
Far back, yeah,
northeast
okay.
corner there,
Oh,
where they play soccer.
Yeah, it wouldn't be up here around the trees and the
okay,
playground.
that's what I was concerned when I
Be
saw
more
that.
in fact, part of it.
How many snowmobiles are there usually?
Sometimes we do two classes. We split it up into, it's all in one day.
Okay.
This time we're actually trying for the first time for the snowmobile anyway. I'm doing it all in one. So normally we would do 30 kids, two classes. 30 each in two classes, 60 total. So this time it is one class, 60 kids.
So you're gonna have a lot of trailers coming in the parking lot, unloading.
They don't unload in the parking lot here. They wouldn't be able to all park there, obviously.
Right, right.
Yeah, we've hauled a lot of snow in there. That
and
parking
then-
lot's filled up tremendously.
Right. They'd likely park in Egg Partners lot or the
Okay.
Lions lot or
Who owns the soccer fields back there?
We do.
I think the
We
city
don't.
does.
I called Evan, the superintendent, this morning to have a chat with him about that because I thought that was his property there. And of course, he, clarified that it's just a round on the trail that comes around the softball field that goes by the pool. So Rosie's Park is that whole open area there. So, he just said that if we were to allow this to happen, he absolutely wants no snowmobiles cutting through the football field. He said, so he really asked us to respect that. So that would be one issue. He didn't have any problem with them coming through like by the pool, and just cutting through to that open area, but he really wanted, so however you could manage that if we decided to go that route to keep them,
On behalf of our class, we shouldn't have any of that. So,
yeah.
the students aren't certified until after they take our class. They have to go back home and they have to go online to the DNR's website and fill out more information. So the kids can't even drive it other than our course.
So the parents
And the
have
parents
to bring them
have to
on.
take it out across the street and do everything else.
How many people are you gonna have? You're gonna have 60 kids there?
Yep.
How
I
many
think there's actually
people,
58.
how many people
signed up
do you
so far.
have to run that?
It takes a fair amount of us.
I would imagine.
Trying to think, what is there? At least 12 of us I could think of offhand.
But all all the kids are not riding at the same time, they're going through.
Correct.
How
There's
many
only
kids
like
are
2
going?
people on the course at once.
So 2 to 12. 2 kids to 12 instructors.
Something about that. We're not all outside. There's an indoor class portion too that we do in the Lions building. Some of those 12-ish are in there doing that.
Well, I think it's a
Correcting
great
tests and
service that you're doing, providing this, you know. The biggest concern I would have is just the control of, you know, when people are unloading and loading and unloading and, you know, there's times when people, you always get a hot runner in there. So that would be your duty to control most of the people.
correct.
And I would hope that you would keep a close eye on that.
I mean, we've been doing it for years. We used to do them out in Belchester and, just push more kids through and a little better service. We moved it to the Lions building here in town.
Sure.
And a little more real estate, you know, space kids out better, and it just works a lot better for us. But the challenge is now finding the location to do the driving portion.
Right.
There just aren't many open areas.
What kind of a course do you have?
It does an oval, turn off the oval, and it has them do a figure 8. Come off the figure 8, they come down to the end of the oval, they go parallel with it, they turn left, and they turn right, and they go through an S curve, bunch of cones, and they turn back to the top of the oval and they finish off. There's some stop signs and things in there, simulated intersect crossings and stuff, but that's the gist of the course.
Take them to each kid to run through the course approximately
I don't know.
10, 15 minutes?
The class starts at 10 o'clock. It takes 2 to 3 hours for the indoor portion. The outdoor portion is about the same. About 6 hours to push everybody through the whole thing.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, there's been at least one question about liability. Let me speak to that real quick. So cities in Minnesota, when it comes to recreational activities on parks, have immunity. There's state law that says cities are immune from lawsuits where people are injured engaging in recreational activities on parkland. I can tell you that snowmobile riding isn't a typical use of a city park, of course, and so I guess to make sure that we would be entitled to that immunity, you'd probably want to put something in writing. If the will of the council is that you want to let the Goodhue Belchester Rail Riders group do their safety course in your park, I'm okay with that, but I think you want to send an email, have Jill send an email that I can help her draft that says, we understand that this is going to be a normal recreational use of the park and we're immune from liability if something goes wrong. And in so many words, it's on your group to make sure that everything is done safely and you have liability insurance.
Well, maybe they could just send us a copy of their insurance.
That helps too, yeah.
With a sign, when we send them a letter, they could send us a copy of their insurance.
Sure.
And sign the letter, and I think as far as, if that's all taken care of, I'd be in favor of letting them do it.
I'm just wondering too, I realize that it's, it'd be more of a courtesy to the homes, maybe to let them know that on that particular day that there will be a snowmobile safety course on that property. I'm thinking like Don and Bruce Meyer, that's pretty close to their property. Just so, they're aware of it. It's something new. If everything goes well and without any issue this year, then it'll be back again, and it's a great space for that, and we certainly want to encourage the kids to take the course. So, is that something that we'd maybe want to? I wouldn't have a problem calling them myself and just saying, this is what's going to happen on this particular day. So when you see a lot of snowmobilers and young kids coming, that's what it is. So they understand. Maybe.
Well, I entertain a motion to have Bob and Jill write up that deal and get a copy of their insurance and be more than happy to let you do it and see how things go.
Sounds good.
So
Is that a motion?
we need, we need to make,
I'll second.
okay, second.
Let's do that.
All opposed? Or how about all in favor?
Better way to start.
Good way to start. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Trippy up there. Okay, so on to the next business. This is the portion of the meeting where we need to name all of the committees, appointments, banks, official things. So do we need to make a motion with each one?
You do.
Okay, so could I get a motion to name First Farmers and Merchants Bank, our bank?
So
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, official newspaper. Could I give a motion to give the News Record as our official newspaper?
Were they, on that last meeting, wasn't he saying they were having trouble, they were trying to find somebody, nobody wanted to do it? I mean, is that a little, something we should look into, maybe looking into a different?
So yeah, he's having a hard time for the Goodhue area to report to him on things. But that would be our local establishment, because nobody else reports on our city
Okay.
stuff. But that wouldn't mean that we can't still send our information to him.
Okay.
That would just be
That's-
like the Goodhue
that was my only
happenings,
question. Sure.
that extra
I
stuff.
just remember at that one meeting where he was kind of
Yeah.
struggling with that, and I didn't know if that would be something we'd look into something else, or, okay, fine. At least if that'll work out fine the way it is, I'm good with it.
Okay, could I get a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. We need an assistant mayor or a deputy mayor. Patrice has approached and expressed interest.
Well, I'm good with that. I make the motion that we have Patrice as the assistant mayor.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried for Patrice O'Reilly to be the assistant mayor. Do we call him assistant or deputy?
I've heard it called a lot of different things. I think you mean the person who's gonna act as the mayor,
In-
when the mayor is
in my
not present.
absence?
Yeah, so I mean, mayor pro tem or yeah.
Deputy?
deputy mayor, yeah.
Or it was acting, I guess.
Acting
is
mayor?
fine.
So I was always
Okay.
called acting mayor.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that you get
No.
called a bad name.
Right, exactly.
Boy.
Exactly.
Taken name.
Okay, moving on, the next on the agenda is the consultant for the engineer, ISG, Reese Sutledge.
I so moved.
Yeah,
Okay.
he definitely, knows, he's got a lot of knowledge of the city and he's done a lot for us, so I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Naming the city attorney, Kennedy Graven Robert Vos.
You got it. Well done.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Name the city prosecutor, Goodhue County. Get a motion? Okay, second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Ambulance board member,
That was Wayne. wasn't it?
right, Joe Benda has come forward and expressed interest in that.
Joe be the ambulance board member.
Okay,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I have some information on that too. There's a February 22nd meeting. The packet will be coming out. So Joel, you'll meet 2 times a year, February 22nd, and then the 4th Wednesday in July. So Ryan Holm will send, I think it comes to you, doesn't it, Joe? The packet maybe, and
Yeah.
give it to Joel. And then we'll get all your information. Okay. Fire Truck Association member,
Yeah, I'm on the fire department, so if you guys are okay with me, I'll do it if that's fine.
Move that. Jason be on that. Is that what we
Okay,
need?
second, okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carried, Jason Tuman on the Fire Truck Association. Okay, Gas Board member. We've had some discussions about the gas board at this point. And so, at this time, it would be appropriate to wait on that one because there are some, if you go through and looking in your packet, there were a couple things that I noticed. I visited with Bob, and so we just need some more clarification. So before we go ahead and appoint somebody to the gas board, we should probably discuss a couple things. Would that be appropriate? So we could table that until next time?
Do they have anything coming up that's pressing?
They just had a meeting yesterday, didn't they, Jill?
Yeah, they had it's typically the third Monday of every month. They moved it to this past week because Kyle's on vacation until through the rest of the month. So they did bump it forward. So there won't be any action for like 6-ish weeks.
Yeah, so we'll have plenty of time to do that. Okay. All right, so could I get a motion to table that? Do we have to?
I would table it, yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, second,
Second.
opposed? How about in favor?
Alright.
Opposed?
It'll all come to you.
It'll all come to me, I know it, okay. The swimming pool board member.
So if I could just speak on this a little bit. Last year, we did not appoint anybody. So that it had been on there in the past, reading through past years of appointments. So my question kind of is for that to bring to council is, as you know, the pool is one of those amenities for the city. And so we're always looking for ways to get funding and help with that. So then also last year, me being new, we had a brand new manager. So it's kind of one of those things, maybe it could be, and I don't have the right words for it, but I mean, if a question, comment, or complaint that's like a serious thing, who would I go to when it comes to me? Who could be my directive person? Because there was a situation last year that it was tough. It felt tough to bring it to the mayor to have this direction when we have some females there, and like how would that, like the mayor going and addressing a situation for something that was on the weekend, and it would just felt more comfortable, the given situation, if I just went and took care of it versus him. So I certainly can take this one if you so choose, but I want to be able to relay the message to somebody before I go and make a decision. It needed to be it was a very big corrective action that we needed to take. That could have gotten the city into some trouble. So I just took it upon myself with, because we didn't have anybody appointed, so it felt more comfortable for the mayor just to allow me to go and have the corrective action.
I'll volunteer for it.
What kind of can we talk about what kind of a problem it presented?
So yes, we had some lifeguards that didn't necessarily feel that they wanted to go out and supervise anybody in the pool, and they had asked if, as citizens or the community wanted to be in the pool, if they wanted a lifeguard out there. Yeah, lifeguards need to be out there at all given times. So it was a situation that a citizen came to me and said this, and so when I was sharing this with the former mayor, he was like, "Ooh," he just felt a little bit uncomfortable of
Approaching teenage girls.
approaching teenagers, and the whole, possibly the swimsuit situation and nothing, and it wouldn't be, it just didn't matter between if it was a boy lifeguard or a girl lifeguard. It needed to be a general, and he didn't know if he was comfortable being able to do it because he's the mayor, and we didn't have anybody on a pool board.
Do we
that type of
actually
situation.
have a pool board yet?
We do not. We have not had one in a few years.
Okay.
So along with that, in the past, we have done some, because there's a whole file back there of sending envelopes and a flyer saying, donate to the pool, when this new pool came. And Goodhue County Co-op donated $500 last year to the pool. And so it's one of those things too that maybe myself and that person that I would reach out to would say, come up with an idea of maybe we should ask businesses or citizens or the community if they wanted to contribute something again. So kind of like another little committee type thing. And maybe the day-to-day, if there's a corrective action that needed to be taken care of, I certainly can help with that, but that's totally up to you too. So.
Well, we definitely we can't have any activities up there without having a lifeguard there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our liability there would be terrible.
Absolutely.
And they were there, it's just, they didn't want, because I was there that day, and they came out and asked all the guests or patrons, do you mind if we don't come out here?
No,
And they wanted to stay in the little lifeguard hut,
No.
and
Not acceptable.
Right.
Need to be right there.
Yep.
Wow.
So Chris had mentioned that he would be willing to take that on. So he would be, if someone were to call you
Sure.
too, he would be a good
Yep.
point of contact.
Sure.
So Chris said he would be willing to step up to the plate.
Okay.
So could I get a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried to have Chris be our swim pool board. I don't know if it's board member because we don't have a board, or at least a liaison. Liaison.
Well, contact point anyway.
We'll give you a fancy title there, Chris, liaison. You're a one-man board.
wear swim trunks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Farmers Market Committee member.
And again, this would be a new one. Yeah, so this last year, we had a new farmer's market person. And so she struggled a little bit. She's not from the community, so she struggled a little bit to get, because there is a committee. So she struggled a little bit to get things going. And so she kind of needs a person that she can go to. So she came to me, and we made it through last year. So if she had more of a direct person that she could talk to, if you name me, that's fine. She isn't asking for anything. They are looking for more signs within that committee, but you can totally scratch this too. I'm just making you aware of, it's one of those things that.
Well, if she needs a contact person and you're interested in doing, I think it'd be fine if we just put you as that. It would simplify a lot of.
Yeah.
What I'd like to make a comment. I have been in contact with some people in the community who are, for lack of a better word, frustrated with the direction that the farmers market is going. Only because the numbers are down and it's not the draw that it has been. So I'm visiting with some people, I'm talking with some people at this point. We're kind of in the beginning stages of that, and I think there might be some possibilities here that there might be some positive changes that could come to the farmers market, because it would be really sad to see it go, but by looking in the budget too, we lost quite a bit of money with the farmers market. So talked with the committee, visited with them a little bit, so.
What do we furnish for money there, or how are we furnishing money for that?
And it's one of those things too that last year they had, and I don't know what the It's POP. I'm not sure what that stood for specifically. But basically, in the past, it had been that they asked for donations from businesses and or citizens to donate, you know, say it was $10. And so that money would come to the city. So then they could give out little tokens for younger children to be able to go and buy some vegetables and fruit and to help create the healthy eating habits type thing. And you can you help chime in because you have relation to the startup of the farmers market stuff too. And so that's what it was. Again, I was not really aware of this until we get into the season of when all of those vegetables start coming. So then it was petty cash money. So it was coming from the city to pay for those types of things, to try to draw in more people. And I will say it was less than $100 that the city gave out to be able to do that. But we need to work on something that we can draw in some of that money for the donation for these to get people interested in it. And yeah.
What did we pay the coordinator, the lady that from Cannon Falls? Wasn't a ton of money by any
Yeah, it was some, like, she had two separate pays. She had the fee, the wages for managing it, and then she had because then she was a vendor too.
Yep.
So it was like 17 and 9 or something like.
Oh, that's right, because
Roughly
when she was vending,
those
she only
numbers.
took so much.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yep. So it wasn't a tremendous amount.
So I'm just wondering if we should
So
hold off on this.
yep, and then the next
And
thing
then I
is,
can visit with you, Jill.
and she's wanting to attend the next council meeting, because she's been talking to Kaylin, the EDA lady too, with some information, so. But I can get you her contact too, if you wanna talk to her in between, and Kaylin as well. But yeah, we can go ahead and,
You know, unless you want to be named as the committee member as a touch point, or is there anybody else who's interested, or any thoughts or feelings?
I don't deal with the farmer's market much at all,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
I guess I don't feel like we can really move on until we get some concrete answers
I don't think we
of
should.
with what we have. So, for that, let's just table the, farmer's market committee member at this time. Did I get a motion to table that?
I move that we table the farmer's market committee member.
Okay, second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Ordinance committee members.
Is that all of us?
I
I was wondering.
I thought we were all, last time, we kind of all looked them over at
So-
one point.
so yes, it would be all of you to make the final decision, but, you know, we have flagged all of these now. So, you know, we've said that the zoning is important, but it's been talked about with the last council that we need to start going through all of these. And so instead of using council time, that two people volunteer to see which takes precedence and what needs to be moved forward with these. Because we're kind of, we all say that we're gonna go and do it, and
Never gets done.
You were on it last time, correct, Patrice? Well, we all were. I was,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah, I would like to be on it, I guess. I think that would be good.
Is it one or two people?
two.
we should have two.
I think we should have two,
I'll do it too.
so Patrice and then maybe you can relay back. If there's something that we need to be looking at and reading that you want us to look at,
Right.
I mean, I think,
Except we need some direction here.
right,
Right, and so in the past, Bob had mentioned, you know, and he called it up, we need to look at the zoning one. And then we knew that we needed to look at the winter because that we were impending the winter at that time. So when we'll start looking at those types of things, yeah, Bob will help us.
So could I get a motion to have Patrice and Chris?
Also moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Employee personnel members.
In the sanitary district.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yeah, 21 was sanitary.
Oh, well, I don't have that on mine.
Oh, wow.
Mine says employee personnel. So sanitary district. Thank you very much. Okay, so sanitary district, Patrice and I have been in attendance to those. Chris went to one to kind of get up to date on that. So Patrice has expressed interest in staying on that. And from my understanding, it's pretty important for the mayor to be on that one. We'll be doing some lobbying up at the Capitol on March 9th. That's a big day. We're gonna be doing a lot of time putting into the sanitary district, so. Could I get a motion?
I'll motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Patrice and Ellen. Okay, now I'm in the right. Employee personnel members, 2.
What is that?
That would be hiring, firing,
Oh, okay, that was, Wayne was
corrective
on that
action.
one too, wasn't he? Wayne must have been.
Yep.
Wayne was on
Wayne and Carrie
that. Wayne and Carrie.
started it, and then Patrice got to come in.
I go on that one.
Yes, I should probably be on that. That,
Ellen.
I keep putting Terry.
Ellen.
it's okay.
Cow, that came out of the sky. Ellen.
Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Motion. All those in favor?
Alright.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, budget committee members.
I'm not sure what, I'm not following that one either. I don't remember doing this at all last year, but.
So that was a comment that we wanted to break down sessions. So instead of using council time, we're gonna try, it was suggested before that we have time that people, set a time that people come in and study it, go over it, and then report on a summary of how we got numbers, and so we're not using council time.
On the bills in general or the full budget
The budget that we do that's due in September and
in
due in
September?
December,
That's,
yeah.
yeah, that's the other page, out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
Who likes numbers?
well, yeah, I don't wanna jump into something that I'm not real familiar with at all. I did all the numbers for the fire department for many years and I understood it, but this is totally different.
Oh, but you know numbers.
No.
They won't let you fail.
Well, there's 2 of you doing it.
Alright.
So they would meet how often, Joe?
Whatever,
Whatever you say.
Maybe-
yeah,
I mean, at least once in June.
Okay.
It would have to give me a couple hours, in June, and I would present the numbers as they state from the software and show you how I work them, and then you ask me questions and we formulate that bad boy.
Right here, yeah. It's just, it's,
And we didn't have anybody last year.
Nope, it was me.
Sign me up.
Well, and obviously we need to have more checks and balances when we're looking at a budget,
oh,
obviously.
absolutely, yeah.
So,
That's just takes, it's gonna be a considerable amount of time, but can we do, we need 2, but can she be on it as well? I mean, was doing it
It would
before, so I would think she
be
would
in
be good.
addition to her.
Well, yeah,
So
him and-
if
yeah,
you
Chris.
and Chris could do it,
I
then,
think that would be wonderful myself, 'cause then
Yeah.
Okay.
she's already pretty knowledgeable on it.
you'd be okay with that? Okay, so we have 2 volunteers, excellent. So could I get a motion for Chris and Jason to be on the budget?
I so moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, police department update.
Oh, we made it.
Did,
Yeah, you fall asleep.
I got them all, didn't I, Joe?
I'm sorry?
I got them all, did.
There's a lot.
If I can get it. There you go.
Oh, I think we had this.
You already have it?
Is it right here?
Yeah, this is the, body
Yep.
worn camera.
Right, have it.
Yeah, we got it. Well, I was trying to be prepared. There we go. So you already got the body worn camera then. There we go. So we ended up just recently having an audit for the body worn cameras. You have to have one every 2 years if we're gonna be having them. She came down, she audited the system, had everything from the data classification, retention of data, access to the data, inventory, use it by the agency, authorized to access data, sharing among other agencies. And then the Minnesota statute, she had to go over the public comment. So when we got the approval that we got from, we ended up holding a motion, we put it in the newspaper, you guys held a public access, so public can come in and say whether they want them or don't want them. And so there was that, and then the body worn camera policies. So we got the policies and they're all up to date. The only discrepancies that I ended up showing were we were supposed to have it on our website posted, and we didn't have it at the time of the audit, but I did rectify that, and it is on there now. So that was pretty much all that came out of that. She said everything went perfectly fine. So, other than that, got the background still going away, and I already talked to you about that property earlier, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow. So until the next council meeting, where I'll actually have the yearly update. So I'll have that at the next council meeting. I'm still trying to compile everything.
Could you, let them know the cost? What it
The
was
cost of
and
the audit,
next year?
I believe it was $450 or $500. So for this audit, this year, I think they're trying to go up for the next audit, but in 2 years, I will talk to her to see if we can get grandfathered in, just because we're such a small city and we're already part of it. So, but I know the new cities that are being part of it. We also don't only have to go to her. There is other individuals. I think there's 2 individuals in the state that do the auditing. So we could go to her. It's the one that most of the state uses.
And they come here?
She came right down here to this office, yeah, absolutely. She accessed our system, started going through, taking samples, and crunching numbers. Thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on, resolution 1.23, approving the state of Minnesota joint powers agreement with the city of Goodhue, city attorney, and the police department. Could you maybe explain that, Bob, for us new people?
Yeah, I don't have a super deep knowledge of this, other than to say, this is an agreement that the state, in order to access their BCA, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, data system, which is a advanced system that your police chief and police department use to do all of the things they do with their computers. In order to do that, you have to join into a joint powers agreement between your prosecutor, your department, and the city and the state. The agreement is quite candidly not negotiable, so there's nothing in here for me to really go through and comment on. It's adopted by, of 823 cities in the state. The vast majority of cities will enter this agreement because they all use the BCA data system. Again, to have access to that statewide system of information for criminal stuff, you have to enter the agreement.
Can't question, huh?
Yeah, I mean, council member, that was the short way of saying what I said, is it's essentially required in order to have a police department, and it's not negotiable, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Could I get a motion to approve the resolution 1.23, approving the state Minnesota joint powers agreement with the city of Goodhue, city attorney and police department? Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2.23, the permission for mayor, city clerk, and treasurer to sign checks.
That's another must there. I'll so move, I'll make a motion, it has to be done.
Did I get a second? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Oh, we're at the back. Mayor concerns. Well, we haven't got enough time for all the things I've been trying to do. Just a couple things that, have been brought to my attention. One thing for sure, and I think we need to take this into consideration, is the billboard that is out on 58, but it is half on our property. It was brought to my attention. So, and on the state property. Those billboards typically rent for $200 to $300 a month. So it doesn't appear that we're receiving any revenue. So depending on what the roundabout is going to do with that, if it is going to remain there and it's on our property, we should at least be compensated fairly for having a billboard, because any other city would. So it was kind of brought to my attention. So that's something that we want to think about. As far as the roundabout, I know that I visited with Chad Hansen this week, and he said the state, they're trying to come down and visit with us about the roundabout at the next council meeting. So I haven't heard anything, but that's kind of what he said. But, the cogs move pretty slow with the state.
Yeah,
So
he is slated to be on there. The last that I had
Okay.
been told, so.
Mayor, can I just say on that second point on the roundabout, as Jill knows, and I think a couple of council members know, I've talked to, I was on a call with the state folks and our city engineer about the trail connection related to the roundabout, so I know that much about it. But I just want to confess that I don't know, beyond that, I don't know much about the roundabout, and the only point I would make about that is that I don't know whether we've gotten past what is called under state law the municipal consent process. So for MnDOT to put in something like that, the city has to consent to that, and I guess I don't know where we're at in that process, whether they're going to come down and ask for that or whether that has already been done. So,
Yeah, not been done as far as
Okay.
I'm aware, so.
all right, so I just mark that I'm not totally up to speed on that, but it's a good point, Mayor, that you make, that making sure that the city is in agreement with how that's going to happen. I think you do have a role in that, despite it being a MnDOT facility. You have a role in working on that. So,
I want you to know that.
Right. So, just for FYI, for council people, I've been trying to get out as much as I can and meet with the business owners, visit with them, trying to attend as many meetings then as I can to bring myself up to speed and kind of keep myself educated on what's going on. So, still going to continue to do that. If you would like me to do that, I don't want to be overstepping my bounds and doing anything that that's not approved by the city council as well. So feel free to.
Well, I think it's important that you get out and talk to these people.
Absolutely.
Get their general feeling on things.
I think it's important that we all do it.
Right.
No.
So, I do have a meeting going to be scheduled with the superintendent as well. He's asked to meet, so I'll meet with him and see what he wants, but trying to keep up with those lines of communication. Alright. Public concerns.
Can I remind you of just one thing? You were
Yes.
gonna do a training.
Oh, yes, thank you very much, Jill. The new training, the fundamental training, I know that Patrice went through it. You talked about how, when you came on to council, how important that is. And so it is out there on the website. There are different locations. It's online for most part, but then there are a couple days, like a Friday, Saturday, in attendance. Mankato, Plymouth, and Virginia? Mankato,
Mankato.
Plymouth, and way up north that we probably wouldn't go to. But I'm definitely interested in doing that, so I'm going to get signed up. I did take a webinar on grant writing and securing funds for the city through grants. Typically, in the program, what they had said that if you are not applying for 2 grants in a calendar year, you're behind the 8 ball. Because it's important to really try to secure some of that money, whether it be in kind, matching grants or just grant money. So I think that if we hear of things, it's difficult.
CETA took care of all that, didn't they?
And she does for the EDA
Yes.
part of it,
Yeah.
and she would be able to assist too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cause
but-
she usually lets us know when there's different grants and stuff available. I thought she'd right now, a couple now, but.
But there are so many on that. I was just absolutely blown away how many. And there are specific dollars that are available for small rural communities, and that's what we need to tap into. That we are a small rural community, an agricultural community, a growing community, so funds that we can look at. So
And,
I will
and
continue
one
to check
point
on
on that too would be that her and Jason are still, Jason Medical are still working on some grant stuff
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So that was still, they talked a little bit today. And so the reason why I remember to point that out to you about the training stuff is because we pay a yearly fee to be part of the league. Yes, these classes cost a share, but that's an option. So if you see anything, I'm sending it out there, whatever. And if there's a fee, you just call me and I can get you signed up or with the city credit card or whatever. So, okay.
Did I forget anything else?
No.
Thanks, Jill. Okay, public concerns. After they watch the meeting. Anything? Okay,
They did
we'll move on to 29, motion to pay the bills. We can look that over.
I have some questions.
Okay,
On the first page, on 12/19/22, and this is just because I don't know what it means. It says paper checks and then sewer utilities, sanitary sewer maintenance. So that, they needed, was there something that they needed to buy?
Do you have it flagged? Can I just come over
Yeah.
and look?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I got it
payroll,
flagged.
If it's here, but I
Yeah.
was reading up here.
So that's payroll.
That's it, yeah.
So somebody got a paper check.
Okay.
So somebody came in and did maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be, a paper check went to, what's his name?
Hogan.
Tom Haugen.
Tom Haugen.
Oh.
I see, okay,
And so
Okay,
he's
yeah.
a sub.
okay.
So every 3 weeks, Jason Todd and Kyle all switch out between gas and that. And if somebody needed a day off, then Tom Haugen takes the sewer part of it. He's not part of the gas, he's not trained in the gas, so he took the sewer part of it.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a payroll.
And then Fitz, I guess, back on, get his pay.
So I had a question on the COVID-19 money. When we're looking at receipts, disbursements, and balances, page 1 of 1. So the beginning balance and then the receipts, and so our balance, is that the money that we have left to spend as COVID? Has that been earmarked previously?
It has not officially been all earmarked.
And when does it have to be spent by?
2026.
2026?
Mhm.
Okay. And again, there's a list of things that are appropriate for that,
I was gonna say, I thought we already had it spent now.
So-
Pretty broad.
pretty broad. So maybe, we certainly don't want to just spend to spend, but if we need
Right.
something,
I think,
let's look at that list.
Zambrota Ambulance was wondering if we would donate some of that money because they take care of us.
Okay.
Because I think they're in dire straits.
Mhm.
Or that's
So-
the way Wayne was
Right.
talking, after going to the meetings, I think they're.
So, and that's certainly something, Joe, that maybe you can have a discussion with Ryan Holm or at the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I can be of any suggestion to that too, is see, we'll have these little pop-ups that will say that, but I think that through the next few meetings, I think that everybody should have those things, that what you're feeling,
Right.
because of those things, like what you just mentioned, like for the ambulance, because that's been something that's been popped up, but then it doesn't come back up again.
Right.
So that if we start having a running total
Mm.
instead of these pop-ups, because I got a lot, I can do a lot, but I can't do everything. So, so if we start running a tally of
Yep.
those things that are what's important to you.
So
To
that would
spend
be a
on.
great suggestion. So think about that, and then maybe if you have questions about whether or not what that money can be spearheaded for, contact Jill.
Yeah, because
And
there
so-
there was 2 rounds of COVID money, so
Right.
so I should actually pull that, because that was before my time too. What facilities or what places have already gotten some money,
Yep.
so that you spread it around and types of things.
And the restrictions on the
Yeah.
2 rounds of money are different.
Yeah.
Like the first round is
Yeah.
much more restricted than the second round. So.
The other question I had is just, and that's my last one, is the gas and the negative balance.
Okay, so that's so that negative balance, that 13,000, that, so I pay for all of Kyle's stuff. I shouldn't say all. I do all of his payroll, and so then if he charges, like uses our city credit card to go and buy something at Menards, the city has the a charge account there. So when it comes back, then it's itemized. So I do his payroll, all of the taxes that are in it, and so that negative number is the number that I give to him to even it out. So that it totals it up. So it's all separated by the funding. So when you look back, let's see. So if you go to the disbursements, and all the way over to, so if you take at the top of any of the disbursement page, so you're gonna see date, vendor. Is everybody following where I'm at?
Yep.
So it says date, vendor, check number, description, void, account name. You're gonna start seeing, so the account name is gonna tell you what name, what the account name is, but then when it goes to the fund, account, operation, I can't remember. Those code numbers, if you see a 605, that's gonna be gas. And so I code it accordingly, so then it goes to that fund. So all of these, so this general sheet, the schedule 1, the very last page of this packet, all of these, so starting with general, EDA, they all have a number. So like general is a 100 for me. The gas is a 605. So, yeah, so it's all based off the code. So they're coded accordingly. So.
But thank you. Anybody else have any questions, concerns?
Yeah, I try really hard to understand it each time, but sometimes when I think I got it down, something stumps me every time. But what is that $80,000 in transfer from other funds for the pool fund money?
Yes, so it's they made, I don't know, if it's called a resolution. So they've always transferred with the last payment. So LGA comes in 2 separate payments. It comes one in July and one in December. So they always have taken the one in the part of the December one and cleared out the pool.
Oh, I see, that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's one of those things that's the amenity.
Okay.
And so it doesn't always look negative. It's going to be a negative a couple $1 million because that's just how it is.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so that's one. So that was a fund transfer for the end of the year. And then I did. If you look up a couple lines, it says the sewer sewage facility fund. So the last council made an agreement to switch out 25,000.
Yep.
So for the future, sewage facility, there's 150,000.
Yep.
That's tabbed for the new facility. So whether we go to
Oh, I see, that's that money,
Yeah,
making it
so
look
that's
like
the-
we're
that's the-
preparing.
yeah.
Okay, that's.
So
what
that it
we're
helps
talking
us with
about.
grants in the future that we've been intending and planning for
Okay.
this type of
And
thing.
that piece is very, very important. We learned that at the last meeting, that they said, when we go in for this bonding bill, if we're not looking like we're showing that we're putting
Trying,
money
right.
aside for the sanitary district, because they're gonna ask that, what are we putting aside? So there again, there's that money,
Mhm.
that we're making a concerted effort to the best of our budget to do that.
And I think also part of that is that we're looking at raising the cost to our people,
Right.
Mhm.
because it's going to, double, triple, whichever way we go. So.
Yeah.
So that might be
Look
something
at
we
all
gotta
that.
look at too,
Yeah.
is to ramp up.
It was very interesting because some of the cities have obviously ramped up by a considerable percentage the sewer to offset this. So instead of
10%.
shocking,
10%.
10%, all of a sudden at once, they're slowly trying to do this, so easing
It's
into it.
important that we get this done because, and they made an example, I think, if we don't, we have to do it ourselves. Our sewer and water will probably go up like $200 per resident. per
A month.
Right.
Well, and from the state's perspective, it's just so inefficient to do it that way. From the state's perspective, it may
Right.
make financial
Well, that's
sense to the
originally
communities,
that-
but yeah.
Preach to
really
them
hoping
about
that.
this 4 cities being more
Right.
economical.
Yeah.
Because they did buck a little bit about the 42 million.
Right. It's a big ask,
It is.
Big number.
but
But
it's considerably
serving
cheaper.
42 here,
cities.
42 there, it adds up to real money.
All right.
And it's much more efficient.
Yeah.
Right, right.
But
Okay.
you only have to have 1 license instead of 4 licenses.
Right.
And now it's moved up to close to 50 million.
Yes,
There was,
With that.
96
With the cost.
right.
total of 96.
So, I need a motion to pay the bills.
I move we pay the bills.
Can I get a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Well, before we do that, I think
Oh.
next meeting, we should talk about what we think we need to raise that sewer.
I thought we
That-
already had.
Well, we have raised it, that's where we get the 25,000, but they don't feel like we're showing enough,
I thought we said we were gonna do it after the first of the
Yeah.
year, we were gonna go so much per
well, I don't know if you
month.
guys had done
I thought we
anything
had,
else.
yeah.
Did you
What
say
was-
$10?
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, I don't
Thought it
know.
was
Was
something
it
like that per
5
person.
to start, get the 25,000?
Yep, and then we were gonna go after the first of the year, we were gonna, we were gonna make it, so it was a $10 increase, I thought.
So we'd get 50,000 a year then.
Yep.
Could we look
I
at
think-
those numbers, Jill, and then
Yeah,
just see how hard would it be for you to go back to see what residents have paid in a certain year? I mean, can you pull that data and go, we're at 2023, what are they paying? What did they pay in 2022? So we can kind of get an idea of how we're projected? Does that answer your question? Is that good?
That's good.
We definitely need to look at that and then probably put that on. I'll continue to work with Jill on the agenda. I'll learn more as I go through my mayor's handbook. So encourage all of us to review those handbooks. They are certainly full of information and can help us. So, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, second? All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? So moved. Motion carried.
Out with the blue.
Right on.
Okay.